Sometimes a book or a painting can open up such vast and lovely places in the heart and soul and mind of the observer. It becomes a whole world in itself. Vermeer gives us still moments of privileged observation of private worlds that are so energized, so uncontainable. They often spill out into novels or poems or other paintings, impacting even the way we construct our private sense of beauty or how we experience the visible world. And there aren't many Vermeers in existence. At one time, it was thought there were 66 surviving paintings by Johannes Vermeer. Nowadays, the consensus among art historians has narrowed the group of authentic Vermeers to 34. Few in number, but spectacular in quality. I mean, our world would be so much less without this. Or this. Or this. But to begin, here they are, all of them, all 34 surviving paintings of Johannes Vermeer. Christ in the house of Martha and Mary. Diana and her companions. The Procuress. Young woman reading a letter at an open window. Young woman sleeping. The little street. Officer with a laughing girl. The milkmaid. A lady drinking and a gentleman. The girl with the wine glass. A view of Delft. Girl interrupted at her music. Woman reading a letter. The music lesson. Woman with a lute. Woman with a pearl necklace. Young woman with a pitcher. Woman holding a balance. A lady writing a letter. Girl with a pearl earring. The concert. Portrait of a young woman. The allegory of painting. Lady with her maidservant holding a letter. The astronomer. The geographer. The lace maker. The love letter. A young woman seated. Lady writing a letter with her maid. The allegory of faith. The guitar player. Young woman standing at a virginal. And a lady seated at a virginal. In 1995, almost 3 decades ago, I did something a bit crazy and spent 3 days on an Amtrak train traveling from San Francisco to Washington, D.C., only to stand outside during a major snowstorm along with thousands of other excited advance ticket holders. Was it a Stones concert or Bruce Springsteen? Nope. All those online were waiting to see 21 of the 32 surviving paintings of Johannes Vermeer. At that time, it was the largest gathering of Vermeer ever assembled, and afterwards, none of us waiting on that line would be quite the same. Now, it's partly the nature of art retrospectives themselves. They are splendid things. We go to stand before favorite paintings gathered from museums around the world, but what you find is very different. After 2 hours or 3, the individual paintings start blurring together a bit, and somehow, among the crowds, another masterpiece slowly emerges, and that is the mind and being of the artists themselves as their work and life evolved over their creative lifetime. And you feel their presence slowly emerging, but with staggering, unexpected intimacy. And it's personal, and in a way no biography could ever approach. I believe it is why people travel long distances to see retrospectives. 3 days on a train, then standing outside in the snow, and you leave with Vermeer living inside of you. I'd say that is worth any journey. But Vermeer's a little different. After seeing a retrospective or major exhibition of Whistler or Artemisia Gentileschi or Edvard Munch or John Singer Sargent, it's easy to translate the experience into language, to talk endlessly about the artworks and about the artist. Not so with Vermeer. Even afterwards, what you hear from those who attended are vague superlatives. Vermeer is astonishing, or you are looking at life itself. Vermeer has rent the veil and let us enter wholly into the world of his subjects. For me, that sense of dumb awe has been with me 30 years. Ask me to talk about Whistler or George O'Keeffe, and I can go on for hours. Ask about Vermeer, and I'll just say, wow, and be at a loss for words. So after a lifetime of loving the work of Vermeer in a primarily emotional sense, I'm going to change that up and ask rather analytically, what is it precisely that Vermeer achieves in his 34 paintings? Well, first, Vermeer visually situates the viewer in the intimate space of the painting as no other painter has, until perhaps Edward Hopper. We are there in the room with the subjects. Vermeer's Delft was thriving with an ever-expanding sense of the world, and it was tech-savvy for the time. Vermeer was one of the first painters to make ample use of the camera obscura, and he used that knowledge to create a sense of space and spatiality that brings the human space of his subjects in their rooms vividly alive. And at the same time, Vermeer includes the viewer in that intimate space, not in some vague sense, but with scientific perspectival rigor. In a technical, perspectival sense, we are there in the room. And this was new. But while we're there in the room, at the same time, there's an intensely private and focused activity going on, untouched by anything except the purposeful action of the subject or subjects. These actions, their thoughts, their feelings in their private space, it is as if Wallace Stevens' poem, Sunday Morning, is given visual embodiment. Plus all this stuff of weighing and measuring and maps on the walls and geographers and astronomers. Holland was on fire during the time of composition with the sense of creating and discovering new worlds. It was the era of the telescope and the microscope and making formerly invisible worlds visible. Surely, in removing the veil on the secret theater of home, Vermeer is doing a bit of the same, and his astronomer is discovering whole new worlds and the geographer is mapping them. And there are maps in so many paintings. But Vermeer is doing much the same thing with the drama of the human. Part of the pride in Delft and the whole cultural and political ascendancy of the Netherlands is in the picture, but it's also because of the intoxicating sense of whole new worlds and worlds within worlds, and explore and discover a map maker too with the subjects in the former secret theater of home. Vermeer is an explorer too. Vermeer is ablaze with that technology-tinged excitement of his camera obscura turned on life and a new intimacy of the human reality. And that Delft blue is everywhere. Part of it was Vermeer's profound sense of the magic and even spiritual qualities of color, but Delft blue used on fabric and tiles was every day increasing the wealth of Delft and the Netherlands. How does this impact the paintings? Because Delft blue and expertise with fabrics and tile, the Netherlands were exporting goods like crazy, and this trickled down to the middle class, who Vermeer is painting. The business of living became living, not so much a hard scramble. There were no enemies at the gate, and the human stuff, the comforts and the pleasures of life came alive, and Vermeer celebrates these riches. There's a range of delectable dark breads on the platter, maps of the Netherlands on the wall, a constant presence of colored objects as Delft blue in fabrics and tiles were making the fortune not just of individuals, but the whole country. And while we're on colors, there's another distinctive Vermeer quality. The arrangement of color and form in the rooms are so incredibly deliberate, and this is a big one. Every single Vermeer painting looks like we have just stumbled on the scene, and yet Vermeer's most defining mark is the arrangement of colors and form on the canvas, which is all the more striking because the scenes look so completely natural, so profoundly stumbled upon. But take a look at any of the canvases in terms of color and form, and it's completely lovely. Squint your eyes till the specifics blur into a rectangular assemblage of color and form. The paintings would work on the level of pure abstraction, shapes and color on a rectangular canvas. So let me return to the subjects and how they are uncannily and magnificently alive in their still moment of purposeful activity that we get to share intimately. What is it? And all I can do is come back to the word love. They're seen with such appreciative and loving eyes, whether it's pouring milk or staring at a globe. There is a stillness, as if it's Eliot's still point of the turning world, or a bit of James Joyce's Epiphanies, a still moment, a recognition of full aliveness and calm and purpose on this spinning world. And Vermeer looks upon it with fascinated and really adoring eyes. But here's my favorite Vermeer achievement, and as unlikely as it sounds, please bear with me. Vermeer, in these paintings, begins to invent the modern novel. Well, that sounds unlikely, but there's still demonstrably an almost uncanny linkage between these paintings and novels and poetry, since Vermeer's paintings take center stage in scores of novels and poems, far more than those of any other artist. And why is this? So here we are in 1667, easy to remember since it's the year of Paradise Lost. A letter has arrived, and that piece of folded paper, in an emotional sense, is really the center of the painting. The letter's arrival, in others, the maid's urgency and attitude about the letter, the recipient clearly waiting for intimate and private words from some emotionally significant person out of the frame. Already on the canvases, we're watching narrative energy that won't be subdued. Who wrote the letter? What does it say? What is their relationship to the people in the canvas? How does it define and impact that relationship? How does it change lives? And several of Vermeer's paintings center on either the arrival or the writing of a letter. There is an intimate backstory in each, pleading to be told. The letter's importance is revealed in the gestures, postures, and expressions of those involved. There's a flow of energy and urgency for answers already in place. 80 years later, that backstory behind the letters, in a general sense, would be the structure and the subject of the modern novel's emergence in the back and forth between novelist Henry Fielding and Samuel Richardson over the course of the 1740s. The first novels were all letters. They're epistolary novels, novels comprised of letters. In a single decade of the 1740s, we move from the collection of letters that is Pamela and Shamla to the triumph and masterpieces of Tom Jones and Clarissa. Letters are everywhere, the carriers of feeling and the creators of narrative. They're not only told in the exchange of letters, but the novels are about letters, the words that create feelings, the words that create narratives. And those energies are already played out here in the paintings. Who sent it? What does it say? How does it impact the sitter? Nowhere is that more intense than in the Blue Lady. We love her, don't we? Is she pregnant? Is the letter from her lover? Is it from her husband away on a long sea journey? And is it a journey of 5 months? Or is it 10 months? A lot would hang on that answer. Her world, it seems, is about to change. That backstory becomes the modern novel. And considered as a sort of proleptic or advanced proto-novelist, but on canvas, the fact that Vermeer is a technical master of using perspective to bring the viewer into the room gets a quite striking added layer of significance. We as the viewer are cast in the role of, to use Anais Nin's fine phrase, spies in the house of love. And isn't that what a novelist is? The writer is in the room where everything happens, a privileged omniscience. Vermeer has already placed us as invisible spectators in the secret theater of home. In making sense of it all, we're doing precisely what a novelist does. Through Vermeer's geometrical drawing the viewer into the visual space of his paintings, his deft or delft representations of complex inward states of mind, and his quietly epiphanous moments of drama or recognition, frequently involving the exchange of letters, that suggest whole novel-like worlds of backstories. Vermeer propels us into a whole new world. Vermeer marks a milestone in the move toward modern art, toward the modern psyche, and even toward the modern novel. What's more, his work is both subtle and ravishingly beautiful. Thank you for watching. If you found this video interesting, please like and subscribe.